All right, welcome into this episode of Carps Corner, courtesy of the Bobby Carpenter Show. We got our new handle out there, so all of you be able to search it up a little bit easier and kind of find everything that way. Maybe a little more name recognition, maybe a little more tie into it. Like I said, I heard some complaints. What's Carps? The Carps Corner? Or not Carps Closet? Who's Carp? Well, that's me. It's a nickname that I had. Tighten it up a little bit from 3 syllables to 1, but that way we'll have Bobby Carpenter Show out there diving into all the stuff that you want to see for Ohio State and everything else. So Buckeyes win a game, cover a monster spread against a team traditionally that they've kind of struggled with somewhat, and as far as close games. And that's the one thing, people looking at this Iowa team and trying to figure out, yeah, they're not very good. But as you sit here and look at Ohio State, they have not really played Iowa, I would say all that well, but they haven't been blowouts. They haven't beat the Hawkeyes really bad in a number of years. And really the last couple games over the stretch, there were blowouts, were on the Iowa side. And so coming in this game, like, it wasn't like a high degree of worry. I wouldn't define it as, like trepidation by any stretch, but the Hawkeyes tend to give the Buckeyes problems. However, that being said, this game should have been a rout, should have been a blowout. And it ultimately was there, but it didn't necessarily feel that way as we were getting there. And so it was a little bit weird of a game. But like I said, you cover a 30-point number. You win a game by 44 points. Good teams win, great teams cover. Ohio State was able to get that done and do that. So it's kind of crazy, the fact that, it just felt weird, partly because 26-10 at halftime. At one point, it's 19-10. And this is an offense that doesn't normally kick field goals, especially ones when you get inside the 30-yard line, which is where the field goals resided. So you're getting bogged down inside the red zone. We'll extend the red zone all the way up to the 30, because in the NFL, they break it down, high red, low red. It's like 25, 30-yard line down to about the 15 to 12. And then you have the low red, which is 12 yards and inside, like super close to the goal line. It didn't play all that well. Defense, however, played great. It was a bad offense. It's not mix anything about it, but you treat bad offense as bad and you act accordingly, as my man Bo Bishop likes to say. So defense came out, give up 3 points. You got a pick 6 on you. I'm not counting that on the defense. So it will ultimately go into the scoring average, but you held them to 81 yards passing and 77 yards rushing. I joked that maybe the over-under should be 100 total yards for Iowa. That was a little low. 200 seems about right, and hammered the under because the Buckeyes held them. What does that do? 158 yards of total offense. So a great job by the offense. And there's a couple, one only area I guess you kind of look at a little bit. They had one offensive weapon. Sam Laporta, their tight end, 85, 86. 6 catches, 55 yards. I believe like a long of 16 or 17. And he was the one guy, like, you knew when they needed something, they were going to him. And third down, whether it's a quick screen or something else, him and Luke Lachey, their other tight end, were the guys. That's how inept this offense is the fact they're two big playmakers are their tight ends. Those are their explosive guys. And so the fact that you had one guy have 6 catches when you knew it was going to him, and believe me, they did a pretty good job of shutting him down. That might be the only thing you could really pick at a little bit, because I'm going to throw this up here. The Ohio State defense, 5 sacks, 6 takeaways. First time since 2005, Ohio State has posted at least 5 sacks and 5 takeaways in the game. Who was on that 2005 team? Well, yours truly. That was my senior year. Hawk, myself, Schleggs, Nate Sally, Tyler Everett, Mike Kudla, Quinn Pitcock, dudes running all over the place. Ashton Yabodi, Dante Whitner. We had dudes everywhere. And 5 sacks, 6 takeaways. And I'm trying to remember what game that would have been. We had 12 sacks against Michigan State. I don't know if it was in that game or not. Maybe against maybe in Illinois, San Diego State. I have no idea who it was. I'll have to look that up. But nice deal for the Bucks. Absolutely dominating performance there. And so you look at that. You force all those turnovers. You held Ohio State. I throw this up here. You held them to 158 total yards. It's domination, but domination of a bad foe. So you don't want to give too much credit, obviously, there. It wasn't like you shut down Tennessee's offense and held them to that, but you did a really good job defensively. Looking at position-wise, linebackers played great. Tommy Eichenberg was amazing. And listen, folks, this is why I was so upset last season when everybody was just crushing the linebacker play. There was some scheme stuff that needed to be improved. The defensive line obviously has gotten a lot better, but then the individual improvement as well. And Tommy Eichenberg is a relentless film warrior, takes care of himself. You'd never even see him smile, folks. I think I saw one creep out when he scored that touchdown, but he is the most serious guy about football you were going to find. And that's why he took this jump from last year to get all the way to this year. Because of that, how much time he put in. And my goodness, he's reading all these books and stuff. He is a mature kid beyond his years. And it's great to see him play in this way. And so when he was besmirched last season, I knew it wasn't going to be long before that changed. Cody Simon, another guy, throwing down the third linebacker. So they ran some three linebacker sets a lot. You got Cody Simon in there. And they ran a lot of blitzing. Jim Knowles loves to bring interior pressure. He's bringing the linebackers inside. And then we'll get into some of the D-line stunts as well. But stunting those guys up inside, putting them in the face of Padilla and Spencer Petras. Cody Simon, 6 tackles, a sack, 2 TFLs. Great game by him. And then Steel Chambers, 4 tackles and a pressure. Like, for 3 backers, it's a heck of a day. Heck of a day. And those guys are playing well. And that's what's driving this defense. So it was great. Another big performer, guy who we've been talking about a lot, starting to get some more action. And this is how you start to get in there. You make plays, and especially in critical situations. Caden Curry, dude's just a flat football player, had half a sack in the game, flying around. Dude gets the quarterback. He's just around the ball. Strip sacks in camp, falling on fumbles. There's certain guys that just seem to have a knack to make a play. And then you try to run the fake punt. And Caden Curry is the lone dude who doesn't bail out. You know why? Because he did his job. His job is to watch the ball being kicked. Not to watch the punter get it, take a couple steps, and then turn as you hear the thud, or I think I got my guy. It looks like they're kicking it. All right, I'm going to get down there and start blocking. No. When they say secure the kick, you watch the ball hit the punter's foot. Caden Curry is a coachable player. He is well-disciplined, and he sat there, and he waited, and he waited. And watching the Iowa punter slam his helmet down when he went off the field because Caden Curry did his job, and everybody else bailed out because that's probably what they were supposed to do, and you leave one guy back to assure that the ball is kicked. And so that's how you get on the field. The coaches know they can trust you. They trust you with some special teams. And always, like, special teams aren't crazy. Usually not a ton of things always happen. But then when they do, and you fulfill yourself on that moment and you do your job, that's what lets the coach get you in there. Hey, 3rd down, it's 3rd and 4. I know he's not going to jump off sides. Give him a free play. I know he's going to do his job. He's going to keep contained. He's going to be in the right gap. And so in critical situations, you've proven yourself. And so now when you see what he's been able to do, Caden Curry, great kid. He's going to start, you're going to continue to see his reps grow and grow and grow. And some other D linemen there, Zach Harrison, who, listen, let's be honest, people came in here, they wanted him to be Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, Chase Young, all rolled into one. He's a Central Ohio kid. Great kid, smart, great straight line speed, gotten big, gotten physical. They've been sliding him inside a little bit now to play some 3 technique, to get more rushers on the field, more athleticism there. And so he's been doing that. Had tons of pressure on Saturday. I was so happy to see this happen for him. Couple TFLs, had a sack. He was just heavily involved in a lot of plays. And you could find him, they call it point of attack. He was at point of attack quite a bit. So awesome to see that from Zach Harrison. Did a great job creating pressure. And then Javonte Jean-Baptiste as well, getting another sack and playing good. So some of the veteran guys stepping up there and playing. JTT had a sack. Oh, goodness. John Cage, I believe, had a sack. But what they did, the defensive line, if you watch this, and this was they had a concerted effort to do this, and they want to get pressure up the middle. So you saw the blitzes, a lot of them, by the linebackers up inside in the middle, not edge pressure, but inside to get pressure in the quarterback's face. They do that a lot, but I felt like they did even more against Iowa. And then you start looking at some of the sacks and some of the other big plays that were had when pressure was created. It's because they were taking the defensive ends on the outside. You call them ET stunts. They were looping them back up and under and then having the tackles replace around on the edge. And so that was getting that pressure up the middle right in the face. And so you saw it pay dividends, with Sawyer and Zach Harrison and Jean-Baptiste, these guys, JTT looping around and being able to have some success with that. So kudos to Larry Johnson for being able to mix it up and get that going. The stunning up front, really, really good. And then the penalties. I think the penalty situation, 5 for maybe 45. I feel like the penalty situation was better. I think there was one PI in there, a couple little knick-knack things, but they've kept, if you can keep the penalties to 5 or less, ideally 3, but 5 or less a game, that's disciplined football, and especially keeping the post-snap nonsense. I believe there may have been one on sportsmanlike conduct, but keeping that stuff out of there, because that's just being undisciplined. And then the pre-snap stuff, that's just losing focus. So they were able to basically eliminate that, and that's been pretty good. Offensively, so this is interesting. You don't really feel like the offense played particularly great. CJ had the fumble, had an interception, the interception there. It wasn't as clean a game as you'd like, but we'll get into the numbers and some things. Literally, like, we'll throw this up here. Like, OSU's offense not particularly sharp today, but they put up 47 on the number 3 scoring defense nationally, averaging less than 10 points a game. Iowa had given up 5 touchdowns all season. OSU scored 5 today. And since Ohio State didn't score like 8 touchdowns, 9 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns, 11 sometimes, we feel like it was a slow day. Iowa's defense is good. Their pressure up front is good. Their box 7 players are really good. And then their secondary is better than you think. They did a good job of closing out. And so, where Ohio State struggled, and Ryan talked about this in the post-game presser, you never really felt like early on they were developing a rhythm because the defense was getting them the ball in such good field position. Tanner McAllister had 2 interceptions. Great. Tanner played phenomenal. Tommy, another interception with the pick 6, but Tanner McAllister has been a huge addition to this team. And so they're giving him great field position, especially early on. The problem is that you don't necessarily get to have that long drive where you feel like you're building up into things, and then you get to the red zone where everything's compressed and it's hard. It has to be fast and quick, and you have to see things. And you haven't developed that rhythm going down the field if you're an offense or a quarterback, because it's one of the negatives. You get down there inside the 30 and there's 4 field goals out of that. You want probably half of those to be touchdowns. And some of it was running the football, weren't able to really establish the run the way you like. Iowa's defensive line is good. You give them credit, but you want to be able to hammer it on them, because that's coming the end of the season against Michigan. You're going to need to be able to do that. And that is why Ryan has stuck with it. And that was one of my keys in the game. Like, hey, slow down the tight ends, make sure you continually establish the run, and then also have a clean special teams game. So pretty much shut down the offense, shut down the tight ends, but running the football wasn't great. And that's what led to some of those red zone woes. They struggled to run the ball and gotta have it situations. Some 3rd and shorts. And then the red zone, they could still throw it. Believe me, you saw them get up there, bing, 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 bang, bing, boom, zipping the ball all around. Easy money for Stroud. They can throw it on just about anybody, but you need the balance. When you play, I don't know who, number 1, you play Michigan. You got to beat them. Big Ten Championship, college football playoff, you have to be able to run the ball in critical situations. And that's toughness. It's a mindset. It's competitive stamina. That's why Ryan is going to continue to hammer it. 30 for 66 yards, 2.2 a carry. Now, the Trey had some nice runs in there. Mayan had 1 or 2, but not really a banner day on the ground. And when I said that, Iowa's defensive line is good, but this offensive line for Ohio State has been playing really good ball. The running backs have been playing tough. They had some things going. CJ probably could have contributed to the running game. That's one of the things you look at with him. There's some times where he could have stepped up and been able to go pick up yards and have some success, and he really didn't. And so that's something that you feel like is kind of rearing its head up again, is where people are going to get upset about that. And should CJ run the ball more and all that? I get it. And there are times, but they can always throw it down there until they can't. So you want to make sure you have that second weapon of being able to run the football. Another area, 3rd downs, not good. 3 for 13 offensively. And that's where developing that rhythm, you don't have some of those drives where you get some things going where you felt like, Ryan probably felt like it wasn't clicking. And that's why when you watch a game and it's 54-10, you should feel like, man, that's an offensive explosion. But it didn't really feel like that, especially early on, even when it was 26-10 at halftime. Good news, though, 3 for 3 on 4th downs. So maybe weren't able to convert as well on 3rd, but 4th downs, you're 3 for 3. So I kind of lumped that in there. So really kind of 6 for 13 on chain moving on end of down situations. Because those third downs, you eventually converted them on fourth. So that's a little bit better, but still not really as good as you'd like to make it feel. One of the positives, though, CJ's you look at 20 for 30, 286 yards, 4 TDs, the interception that obviously wasn't great, but he threw to 9 different receivers. Like CJ Stroud was able to throw to 9 different receivers in the game. Mitch Rossi's catching tight ends, Cade Stover, G. Scott, all the receivers, getting some backs in there. Like that's spreading the wealth, that is spreading the football against a really good defense, taking what they give you. So that was something that was good. Obviously, you want to make sure you're keeping a clean pocket for them. The strip sacks you don't like, especially when those are ultimately converted into points. Receivers Day, though. Think about this, and we'll get to JSN before the end. Julian Fleming, 2 catches, 105 yards, touchdown. Emeka Ibuka, 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. And then Marvin Harrison, the pedestrian day, if you will, 7 for 66 and a touchdown, even though Marvin just makes ridiculous catch after ridiculous catch. He's a Martian, Marvin the Martian, from out of this world, man, with what he's been able to do and how good he has been. But think about that. Those are your top 3 receivers on the day. Jackson came back, with a little nicked up. They didn't held him out in the second half. I'm curious to see, he wants to play. Like, this isn't something where, he's a guy, prima donna. Jackson Smith and Jigba is anything but a prima donna. Those receivers work. Their whole room works. And so I'm curious to see kind of how he'll be back, when he'll be back, how long this thing's going to linger for. But you didn't need him either. So, if you get some work and you don't irritate something too badly, hopefully he's going to be okay and be able to move forward with it. But the receiving room, man, with what they're able to do. If I'm a wide receiver in high school, I don't know where else I would go other than to be coached by Brian Hartline. With what they're able to do, and those 3 guys, plus JSN, plus the 2 guys in Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave that left last year. I mean, these are 6 guys over a 2-year period that all look like elite NFL receivers. Guys that can go out there and make plays on Sundays. Like, he recruits them, he develops them. They have that mentality, they have that identity, and it is fun to watch. It is a joy. So they always have that, but you still have to make sure you can run the football. And I know Ryan Miller and Justin Fry, Kevin Wilson, get their heads together, figure out what they did. And believe me, you give credit to Iowa too. And that's why Ryan, I think he wanted to get some touchdowns. Like, all right, forget it. We're struggling running. We'll just throw it on you, because we know we can do that in the red zone. That's something that they've been able to do, with a high degree of proficiency. Like I said, my 3 keys coming in the game: slow down those tight ends. They were the playmakers, and you did for the most part. Like I said, outside of Laporta having a couple catches in there and a couple critical ones. The running game needed to be good. The running game wasn't good, so I'm not going to necessarily give it a plus on that. But the special teams, thought the special teams were good. Thought they did a good job. You got Ruggles there, 4 for 4 on field goals. That's a nice weapon to know you have. You hate kicking them, but now you can feel like you can kind of rely on that. You've got that there. There weren't any crazy miscues, on the return game. Felt like the coverage for the most part was pretty good. So those boxes are all checked, and the special teams are now trending in the right direction. And so all of those things, especially coming off the bye week, you feel like you got corrected. This week in practice, they're going to hammer the run game. Hammer the run game, and work on some red zone and third down. Those critical things, those 2 critical situations, red zone, third down, and then working on the run game. That will be the points of emphasis and the focus of, the rest of this season or the rest of this week, because you got Penn State coming up now, and it's there. Now it's big noon. It's not a whiteout. And so we'll get into some more things here this week as it rolls along. But a solid effort. They covered the spread. Second half felt a lot better than the first, and moving in the right direction that way. So enjoyed that. There's some other great games that you got a chance to see. I mean, Oklahoma State being able to have a comeback on Texas, slaying them. That's always good. You can always troll the Texas back. Are they there? Clemson almost got caught by Syracuse. Syracuse just ran out of gas at the end and really kind of hurt themselves with some foolish penalties and some other things as well. But those were 2, pretty darn good football games that had, national title implications, kind of wrapped all around them. And then Oregon, who looks like they've risen from the dead and really putting it on a good UCLA team. Now, I think Oregon isn't as bad as the team we saw play Georgia. And I think they've also improved a lot since then. So they weren't as bad as we thought then, got caught in an avalanche, and now they're a much better ball club. So some other exciting games there. We got the mailbag coming up midweek. Get some other great stories here. Get ready for Penn State leading into the weekend. It's Halloween weekend too. So it's not going to be the crazy night of zombies with a whiteout, but it should be fun to watch. So like I said, we got the new handle there, Bobby Carpenter Show. Find it. It'll be exciting. Get that rolling here. Carbs Corner will be embedded into that. Love talking with you guys. Love the fact that we're going to have 5 more football games, hopefully a 6 with the Big Ten Championship, and then leading in to the CFP as we push through here the second half of the season. But the best part of being 7-0 is a chance to go 8-0. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, please subscribe, share with your friends, continue to grow this bad boy, and continue to have fun this season as we keep you updated. Thank you.